Hey, you're out of the garage with TheEZGZ. Oh, I have not tested the buggy yet, but I had another idea for a video here. A couple people asked me what types of things I like to carry with me when I go out there on the sand, so I needed to go through this stuff anyhow. My memory's so horrible, and it's probably a good idea if you haven't gone through yours in quite a while to go through it and freshen it up and make sure that you've got the things you think you do. A lot of times we borrow stuff from it and don't put it back, but if you've got any suggestions or ideas that I haven't thought of, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will show you some things that I do. I'm probably going to revise this. It's constantly being revised. It depends on where you're going, how long you're going to be out, those types of typical things. It's much like going on a backpacking trip or something, except you got this big mule to haul everything for you. And you want to keep the weight down to a minimum, and you want to keep the weight back on this type of a car. You want as little weight in the front as possible. And I think I've explained that in the past. So first off here, I built this little package tray, or rebuilt it. This thing had a fuel cell in here originally, and somebody else put this aluminum tank in here, big 11-gallon tank, which is just huge. But you know, what the heck, you don't have to fill it up every time you start out on a little trip. If you're just going out for a little morning jaunt or something, why carry the extra weight? Fuel is 6.5 pounds per gallon approximately. So anyhow, we've got this package tray back here, and you see something that's on it that we're going to take off of it right now. And I tie my stuff down with tie wraps. I'll show you what this is. Let's get it out of here first so we can get at it. Seems like you guys don't mind the longer videos, so I think we're just gonna make some longer videos here for a while, see how that goes. Okay, a piece of plastic with a hook on the end of it. Actually, this is wire loom, spare wire loom that I had, and this hook goes to a jack. And I should have never been carrying all the stuff that I was, but that last trip to Idaho, and basically what you're looking at is a guy who plans on going solo out to who knows where. And I took this old telescoping car jack, which is steel, weighs a ton. I'm sure that you guys have seen them before, and the bag's getting torn. I thought it would be a good idea to try to keep the sand and stuff out. I don't know if I just closed it or opened it. Oh boy, I can see how this video is gonna go. Okay. Open sesame. Well, that didn't work. Let's go the other way. Open sesame. I did have it right. I do have a brain. I think this was out of an old Toyota, and I think it's pretty obvious if you're alone and you do have a tire problem. If you blow a tire off the bead, and it's not that hard to do, we don't run that high a tire pressure on these cars, and it'll usually be black tire. You'll go off of something and come down right on the side of the tire, and you'll push it, unseat the bead, which is pretty incredible when you think about it, if you've ever tried to change a tire yourself and had trouble. But it can happen. A lot of impact. You got a 1,000-pound car coming down on one wheel on the side of it, and it'll push it off. And the best way to get that reseated is to not have a flat spot on it. Have it nice and round and open, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. You can use starting fluid to explode the bead back on. Sometimes it'll just come close enough, and I just noticed too, I don't have my air compressor in the car with me. Yes, I do. I think it's behind the seat. I'll have to look. That's why we're doing this. Okay, so let's take a look at some of this stuff. As long as we're talking about tires and that type of thing, you need a jack. course, now if you're going out with a group of people that you know, this is the only thing you need to take right here. Travel light. Take yourself a tow strap. That's all you're gonna need. If your if your car fails or your friend's car fails, as long as you guys got one car running, you can tow the other guy back. So that you can eliminate a lot of hassle and weight just by following that simple rule. But let's just say that you're going off in the boondocks by yourself, and you guys know that I like to do that. Not everybody likes to get up at 5 in the morning, and I'm going to be going here in a few weeks down to California, and hopefully the weather's going to be nice and maybe do some early morning exploration. So if you've got a tire problem, you need a full array of things to fix the tire. So I've got, these are from my motorcycle days. These are for unseating the tire and probably on the front tire. I don't know if it'd be pretty hard on those. You just have to kind of play it by ear, but I just decided that I was going to carry them. I've got some epoxy glue here, quick set epoxy, the double mix kind. I've got some of this seal all. This you can use it. It's a weather stripping basically. You can use it on as a gasket. You can use it if maybe you knock a valve cover gas off or something. I mean, maybe there's somebody else out there and they're stranded. Kind of keep that in mind too. You make a friend for life if you come riding along and you find someone else who's not prepared and you have the thing that they need to get their car running. That's a good way to start a friendship, let me tell you. So anyhow, I got some electrical tape, got some rubber cement, got some little patches, got the little the pull handled. If you run over something, maybe you run into a stick or you never know what you're going to find any place nowadays. And here's the little, it's actually the whole tire kit, and I just added some extra stuff to it. So guess we probably really don't have to spend too much time on that. You get the idea. If not, I'm just boring you to tears. But, you know, I bought this as a kit, and it came pretty much with all that stuff in there. And that's how I carry it. So we'll just push that off to the side. Let's go on to something else over here. I've got the short tie rod. You very rarely break or bend the short tie rod, but I put this in my toolkit for the ends, the tie rod ends. You got a better chance on the short one of popping an end here. So at any rate, same type of thing. It was small and gave me 2 extra ends for the 4 I have. So I always thought it'd be kind of cool to incorporate your tie rod as part of a structural part of the frame. You know, put a plate in there and maybe part of the roll cage, you know, someplace where you need some reinforcing someplace. Use one of these components, that way you could take it off and put it back on later after you got it repaired, you know, if it was actually a structural part of the whole thing. Let's see, what else can we go over when we're up here? A tarp. I always want to take a tarp or 2. Now these tarps are great. You can, when you have these types of seats, you can use it for extra padding behind the back. I use this, actually what this is pipe insulation. It's a high density foam, but it works pretty good. Works pretty good. These seats come with the sewn in foam rubber backing, but I've done this in the past, and you can make your seat nice and comfortable and get the ergonomics just right for you. Maybe put it in your passenger seat over there. My pants are my little spare pockets for putting things in. Let's see if my air compressor's behind the seat. That kind of scares me that I missed that. Okay, I've got another tow strap down there. And here's another. Here's a tarp. Right here. I knew I had that thing with me. Okay, I do have a brain. But this is why we go over this stuff. When you've got some timers like I do. Alright, at some point I got my hands on the buttons and hit the zoom. I'm not sure where that was, but this will free up both my hands to put you on the stand. One of the things I like to carry And if you do get a flat tire, you'll need to reinflate it. So I got this little tire pump at Harbor Freight. It's pretty small and compact, and it looks like it's pretty well sealed up from the sand by itself. So hook that to the 12-volt battery on your car. You got the clips, you got a little bit of hose, so you should be able to make sure, double check that you can reach all 4 of your tires. You don't want to be taking your wheels and tires off if you don't have to. The back ones are heavy. There's a lot of times on the front wheels that you can just hang your wheel or tire over a log or over the edge of a sand dune. There's a lot of ways of getting a front wheel up in the air, but there's a lot of weight on that back one. That can be a problem, and that's why I had the jack with me. Even if you have out there on the sand, you need to probably have a little piece of wood or something as a base to keep that jack from pushing down into the ground. But everybody's got their own little ideas, and you have to be adaptable. You have to adapt to the environment and use whatever's handy and be creative. That's the key to any type of survival anywhere on anything. So probably I'll just put that back later. Okay, electrical tie wraps. These things are fantastic. They're cheap. They're disposable. Put them on, cut them off. You can put them together. I think you guys all know what those are. I've got a sealed 4-way screwdriver. Actually, I think it's 6 ways because you got a 1/4 inch and a 5/16 socket in here. Then a large and small Phillips and a large and small flathead. This is a screw starter, and on the Loadout carburetors, the idle jets are down inside and they're difficult to get to, and this is a great tool. Push it down in the flathead slot, and after you've loosened it up, and then you can pull it straight out, and your idle jet is right in the end of that. So I always carry one of these. I've got a full set of El Cheapo Harbor Freight open-end wrenches. Gosh, what do these things go for? Like $6. They're ridiculously cheap now, and they probably are cheap, and I should use them a little bit just to make sure they fit and work the way they're supposed to. If you've got any odd nuts and bolts on your car that those won't work on, then you want to carry those separate wrenches. I got a 5/8 and a 1/2 inch there. I have a special. This is my spark plug wrench, and this just whips them out. Works really great for me. I've ground the socket down to fit the tin. I just ground all that metal off of there so that it fits inside. When you're running dual carburetors and have the thick manifolds, sometimes you can have clearance issues, and this is the ticket. And I got extra spark plugs with me, a little bit of extra electrical tape, some electrical wire, and it's good to have some of the test leads with these alligator clips on them, or I've just got the alligator clips so I could make them up on the spot, and that way if you could clip on a coil, you can put a jumper wire in. It just is real handy. Wire ties, the kind that the electricians use, the wire nuts, all that stuff is good to have. I've got these little here's some extra electrical tape around the outside of this, and supposedly one end will come off. I've got a little paper towel in there. Here's some electrical stuff, a couple extra light bulbs, some terminal connectors, crimp type connectors, twist locks, all kinds of stuff. I got a 30 amp breaker there. So, and then I put this stuff in to take up the slack so that those bulbs don't pound against each other and break. And it looks like it's working because they all seem to be intact. So I've got some electrical. Then I've got another container here with some extra nuts and bolts. I got some metric, some American. I always think about what's on your car, and it's easier to have something too long than it is to have something come up too short. Make sure you have the nuts and the washers and the tools, the wrenches to install them or remove them, whatever the case may be. Maybe you need to make a hole through your strap and make it a custom length, and you need a bolt or something to secure it. Now I've got another one here. I've got some gloves in here. I've got some hose clamps, different kinds of hose clamps. This is just cable clamp, hose clamps. A lot of guys run the stock type cable, but it has to be cut and customized to fit their car. So if they lose one or it comes loose, I used to have that on my car. I still carry that sort of stuff. You're screwed without a fan belt. You got no cooling. Sure, you don't have water and a water pump and all those issues that go with it, but make sure that you have a spare fan belt that fits your car. When you replace your fan belt, keep the old one. Old school guys used to take some wire ties and they would tie this to the frame of their car. So, you know, someplace on the frame where it was easy to see and easy to access, because they were racing. They were racing. A little bit of extra fuel line here. You can use it for siphoning. If you get a hole in your fuel line, you've got the spare fuel line for it. I've got some heavy type cable. This is what I made my battery cable out of, and just in case something happens to that, I kept the extra piece, left that over there. Here's a cable lock. This is pretty cheesy, it's pretty cheap, but you could wind it up in your steering wheel, and if in case you had to leave your car and go back to camp, or just had to leave your car for some undetermined amount of time, it might just make it that much more difficult if somebody has any ideas of taking your car or pushing it around the corner or down the hill and coming back for it later. You never know what people are thinking. Sad to say, that's the kind of world that we live in. And if somebody's really dead set on taking what you got, they probably have tools to do that just as well, and this is going to be worthless, but it's just there to keep honest people honest. And your friends have a tendency to love to mess with you, don't you? This is my gas gauge. I just take it off my gas cap, stick it down in the tank, look at it, and that's how much fuel I got left. So I always got to have my fuel gauge. It's got a couple different size crescent wrenches. I think I have a little baby one too here. Then I've got this. This is something I've had for years and years. It's a 3/8 drive ratchet set. It's got a bunch of little Torx bit and flathead bits and Phillips bits. It's got your metric. It's got American 3/4. Make sure you have the size tool that you need to get the lug nuts off of your wheel. Man, that's aggravating. And it's you amazed how many times you go out there and somebody you're willing to take their wheel back to camp or to town and get it repaired and bring it back, can't get it off the car because they don't have the right tool out there with them. That's kind of crazy. An electrical tester. This is the kind that you use the power of the car. It lights up a light, and you can use this for different types of troubleshooting. I've got a Swiss Army knife. I've got a folding Allen wrench set. I've got some leftover gasket sealer. This is what I use on my engine. The aviation cement by, who is it here? Formagasket, Permatex, aviation cement. This is hardly anything in there, but it's just a little bit. In case somebody's got to do something, you can take a piece of paper and make a gasket. You'd have something here to help to hold it in place and seal it on there. Pair of needle nose, pair of electrical wire cutters and strippers, a pair of latex gloves, just some nitro gloves for if you got to do some greasy stuff. I've got a headband type of a light that you, let's make sure that thing still works. I don't even know how you turn it on. Come on. No batteries in it. Gotta get batteries. A clean rag. This can also be used in the case of first aid stuff. Gloves to drive with. Gloves to work on your car with when you're doing that tire work and stuff like that. It's nice to have a crummy pair of gloves. I got a pair of goggles. I don't always wear goggles. I generally sacrifice my eyes, but you don't want to forget those. Your cell phone. a mini mag flashlight with an extra spare bulb in it. Make sure you got that in there. I like this temperature. I like to check my engine temperature. Usually I can tell by the way it sounds and feels if it's running hot or cold. And like I've told you in past videos, we usually stop every once in a while and just check things out and continue with our plan. I've got other types of glasses here. I found these on the side of the road one time. Somebody probably was pretty disappointed when they were missing them. These are some nice ones. They will kind of fit over my prescription glasses, but not that well. But I figure, you know, passenger situation, you pick somebody up or you're giving somebody a ride, you got an extra set of glasses for them and some place to keep them, especially if you've got to go a long ways. I've got a bag to put all of that stuff in. And yeah, that way it can kind of keep the sand out of it. And I'll pack that later, but it goes on the package tray in the back. I was talking about doing some stuff. Yeah, also probably carry a gun either on my person or I'll have it on the car someplace. It's a Glock 23 40 caliber. I'm not saying that this is the best gun, the best all-around gun, but it always goes bang when I pull the trigger. It's easy to disassemble and clean, and in a sandy or dirty environment it's good to have. I have a concealed carry permit. I don't see any reason why. I know how to use it, and you never know what kind of situation. We live in a different world now. And I'll tell you a little thing. Here I live in this neighborhood, and you guys have been watching my neighborhood videos for years. I had rotator cuff surgery, and I was couldn't move my arm. I couldn't sleep in bed, and I was back in the back bedroom looking at stuff on my computer, and just got tired and thought I'd call it a night. I turned off the computer, and I see all these lights flashing around the ceiling of my bedroom. And what happened, there was an armed robbery across the street. Honest to God, somebody was delivering a pizza to the people that live across the street on the corner, and he went back to his car, had the money, and he was going back to his car, and two guys came up to him with masks on, and one guy held him at gunpoint, took his car keys, his cell phone, and all of his cash, and ran off down the street on foot. They were parked around the corner. He heard the car start. Of course, he ran up to the house. He didn't do anything. He just stood there. Then he ran up to the house when they got out of sight and asked them to call the police and get some help. But here, my point is, you know, having a gun is not being paranoid. Not in today's world. If you don't know how to use one, you should learn or encourage somebody that's willing to do that in your group. I'll tell you, it just makes more sense to me all the time now. So, at any rate, I mentioned in another video that I was thinking about, move this up just a tad bit here. Where are we at? Alright, continuing on here. Extra Ziploc bags is a good idea. Just in general, a trash bag. You can always use a trash bag for a raincoat or to keep yourself warmer, more comfortable. Maybe you're gonna be the guy that stays with the car while everybody else goes back to camp and gets more fuel or whatever the heck it is that they're gonna get. And I have talked about these morning runs and maybe incorporating some camping and maybe just going out in the dunes and having some coffee. I carry a lunchbox, most people do. I've got this full of stuff right now. I've got a set of binoculars. I've got a harmonica. You can get bored to tears, I'm telling you. Things like that are just great to have along. Got some paracord. Got I got this around Y2K. This is one of those Garmin GPS units, and I am definitely going to take paper and pen and write down the coordinates of camp when we decide where camp is going to be, and then later on during the day, if it's easy to get turned around when you go to some huge dunes like that, you start going around in circles out there and there's tracks every place. So I'm going to be taking that with me along with a standard compass. I've got one of these, you know, these are crazy. Here's a Leatherman multi-tool. These things are worthless. When I was working, I was the first guy at the last place I worked that I kind of started a trend over there, because when I worked for the phone company doing maintenance and driving around a lot and on these rooftop units, there was always something that was coming up that I needed to get the panel off to inspect something or do some small thing, and it saved me a trip going all the way back to the truck and getting all my regular standard tools. And having that and the flashlight, these two things, that allowed me to, it saved me a lot of steps back and forth. But for practical fixing things, you know, you always see these guys doing videos with survival stuff. There's so much stress, you know. It's like, yeah, give me a Leatherman and an Altoid box with some fishing line in it and a sparrow rod, and I can live indefinitely off the land. Bullshit. You know, I mean, they're just, I don't know. I need more than that. I'm sorry. I need more than that. Toilet paper! Woohoo! Lots of toilet paper. Blowing your nose, wiping your hands, wiping your butt. Toilet paper is a good thing. You get into a situation, somebody smacks their head and is bleeding. It's something sanitary that you can apply pressure with to stop the bleeding or slow it down. Here's a small first aid kit that I've never even opened. First aid kit. Now, how much of a first aid kit can this thing be? 10 adhesive bandage, 3 small adhesive bandage, a knuckle bandage, adhesive strips, gauze pad, alcohol pad, antiseptic pad, some Anacin, moleskin, travel towel, and a steel needle. You know, that sounds pretty complete. Huh. I think I bought that at a gun show, just out of the spur of the moment. A container with some water in it. You need water, and if you got to take pills or anything like that, I've got tons of granola bars and candy bars. And here's my paper and pencil, and a pencil, as well as a magic marker. I've got some Tylenol. I've got a whistle. I don't know why you'd need that on the sand dunes. Direct traffic. Yeah. As people are going up the big hill, you know, you'll be the start person. So yeah, some water and some odds and ends there. Yeah, there's hardly any room for a sandwich or anything, but at least your candy bars won't melt, and you've got the stuff handy. It's easy to get to, and we're just going to leave it there for now. I think I'll put the flashlight in there too. Yeah, that's pretty full loadout right there. Yeah, that's probably got away at least 5 pounds right there, and it's towards the front of my buggy. I've been talking about doing some little camp type things. I've had this for a long time. I've never really used it. This is a discontinued Coleman dual fuel 533. It's their smallest version of this, but I think they kind of consider it like a backpacking stove. But for God's sakes, the way they have things in this world nowadays, this thing is just a pig. But the key thing is here, dual fuel. There's not much wood out on the sand dunes, and if you want to boil some water, make some ramen noodles, or some fresh coffee or hot chocolates, you got dual fuel. I'll put some fuel in it. I can carry it with me, and that's not going to be just for your average run. I might get up at 5 in the morning and decide I want to go someplace on the dunes and watch the sunrise, and I'm an impatient person who has trouble sitting still, and that's the type of thing that'll give me something to do. I've got a Army canteen with a insulated cover, and it comes with, I think I had to pay, I think the canteen was $3, and the little coffee, or the pot here, was like $10. And I have used that recently, So that's a good thing to have. And it's insulated. So $2.39. $2.39 for that. And I probably paid $5 or $10 for the carrier and then another $9 for the pot. As far as making coffee, you know, these things work great. Insulated coffee mug with a sealed lid. You make your coffee in the morning at camp, pour some in there, put the lid down, find a place, bungee cord it to something, part of the frame, and you can sip on it when you get out there. If not, you can always take a thermos. God, this has got to weigh like 4 pounds right there, especially if you fill it full of coffee. And then you're going to be stopping every 15 minutes to go pee. You need some sort of a lighter for that. And I usually have, I'm surprised I haven't seen anything in here, just a little butane lighter. I don't smoke, but you know, fire sometimes is a good thing. If you've ever fouled the spark plug, you don't have a spare, sometimes you can take a butane lighter and light your spark plug on fire, or hold it in the flame and let it carbon up, and then you can clean it and put it back in and it'll start working. This is the second bag that I take. All of this stuff goes in that red bag. This is separate. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that stuff yet. And this was the second bag that I was taking. And here I've got a funnel so I can direct the oil into my engine. I've got 2 quarts of oil with some paper towels. I've got a set of the little small cheesy jumper cables. They work great for something like this, and they don't weigh much, and you need a little bit of length here. These are 10 foot, so it doesn't matter where a guy's got it on his buggy. You can help him out, or he can help you out. You got an extra set of jumper cables. Here's my starting fluid. There's the lighter taped right to the starting fluid. And actually, when you're lighting that thing off, rather than throwing matches in it or getting your hand right close to it to light that, one of these type of deals is better to light it than getting close. You want to stay as far away from it as you can. Here's some baby wipes. Those things are a hell of a lot better than toilet paper, let me tell you. And if you're a youngster, you don't have a clue what we're talking about. But about the time you start getting in your 30s and 40s, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. Here's a can of Fix-A-Flat that was in the car from the last guy. So, thank you. And what else we got? Oh, here's that bigger lighter. Let's see if it works. I see the spark on. Yeah, there's a flame on that thing. So look at that. I was prepared. Wow. And this is going away. This is a real first aid kit. I think it had expired. It was in one of the trucks that I had. It's like, I have worked for the phone company since 2007, and this was expired then. And they dinged me for having this on the truck, and they gave me a new one and told me they threw it in the trash, and I picked it out of the trash because I like the metal box. And now I think it's too heavy. But this thing's pretty cool. It's got some antiseptic for soothe the sting, green soap, Band-Aids. Oh, look at that. It's got a pair of scissors in there. This is why we do this. Don't even know what I have. Micro shield. Oh, look at that. I can give somebody mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Not have to worry about getting their crud. Gauze pads. That's been opened. Yeah, this stuff was all sealed up, most of it. Here's some more gauze bandage. So, yeah, and a little pair of scissors, and oh my gosh, smelling salts. I don't know. Gosh, you don't even hear anybody talking about that anymore. Smelling salts. If a person is going into shock, if you come upon a car wreck out there in the sand or any place else, and a person's going into shock and they're starting to fall asleep, it's important to try to keep them awake. It'll help the medical people. It's even though they're in pain and not comfortable, it's better to keep them awake and be talking to them. I don't know why. I think I used to know why. I think there's another reason for that. Maybe somebody else knows, but I don't know off the top of my head. And you know, having books, first aid books, I want to make this pouch into a more complete first aid kit. I'm going to go through that stuff. I'm going to have a nice soft pouch here, and I'm going to have some, you know, some nitrile gloves in there. I've got a lot more first aid stuff, and I'm going to fill this out and utilize this as well. So that first aid kit's going to be changed out for a different one. So now, like I said, all this is optional, but depending on whether you're traveling alone or whether you're going with a group of people, how long your ride is, if you're just going, you know, 10 minutes out from camp, then, you know, you don't need all this stuff. The toe strap, the old toe strap is all you need. And especially if you go with a large group of friends, there's always, you know, if everybody carries a little bit, I've never seen any situations where somebody completely really got stranded, but I've never come upon a rollover situation or a situation where anybody in my group rolled over either. So, you know, different degrees of preparedness, and you know, there you have it. So I can add to that or delete to that depending on where I'm going and what I'm doing. Some suggestions down below. If I left something out or you think there's something I should take in addition to. That's about all I can think of right now. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Hope you have a nice holiday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ out.